This one's weird. This is statistics for okay.
Good evening. It is Wednesday, July 12th, 2023, and coming to you from Studio 1A at Lonely Tree Media headquarters in Yakima, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I like this music better.
You like it better?
I do.
Oh, no.
And it gets... Hold on. We'll give it a minute. I like it better. I don't know. I could be wrong.
The way I think about that music is that it sounds like music you like, but just like the store brand version.
The generic.
It is the generic
pub beer version of the
song you actually want to hear.
I'm your host, David Lamm. With me is my son Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
Yeah. So everybody's ready Wednesday night. The crowd, they're good on Wednesday nights here. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter, as you can hear. If you're watching YouTube right now, you can obviously understand that we're on YouTube. But if you're not listening and you catch this later, you probably still saw it on YouTube. We're on Twitter, at Lamm Sports. On Facebook, under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lammsports@gmail.com. Please check out our webpage. You can find links to the past shows and the current trivia question on lammsports.com. We got things to talk about tonight. Damian Lillard requests to be traded from the Portland Trailblazers.
Mm-hmm.
And what are they going to get is the question. Formula One was in Silverstone, England, which is a big race every year. Tiger Woods made a statement about the PGA Tour and he made a statement. His first statement since the merger, and it's in reference to a whole bunch of things. And the PGA Tour is now, of course, under investigation by the U.S. Congress. I don't know. Well, the merger is, but we'll talk about it. Gambling in sports might be the next big tangle, the big problem for the professional sports. I mean, it has been for the NFL for a little bit now. And then there's a couple of rule changes in the NBA that are coming. We'll talk about those and what they do or don't do, or if we like them or not. But first, you wanted to talk about something. You've got a minute to talk about. We can move it right up to the front of the show. So why don't you take it away? What do you got?
Okay. So I want to talk about how worthless soccer is. Some of you may or may not know I work for the Colorado Rapids now, and they've had a game that was canceled last Saturday against the Timbers. So that's, again, topical because of the Northwest connection. And that game was canceled after playing a half, or postponed after playing a half. So today they played the second half of the game, which means the Timbers had to fly back into town, bring all their equipment. We had to staff a building, open up vendors, and hire extra security people and things like that. We had to do all that stuff just so that way the game could end in a tie.
Was it scoreless?
Scoreless.
Scoreless tie, which is the worst kind.
Through 90 across 5 days.
I mean, and
what the hell?
And let's be honest, a 10-10 tie is pretty exciting, but a scoreless tie is not.
Jesus. And then also, I'm watching the USA Panama game downstairs. Match, sorry, not game. And the referees in soccer have to be the worst.
Really?
They have to be. One, they have so much damn attitude for a person in a position of power. Have you ever watched them get sassy with players? It happens all the time.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
They give them, like I was watching the ref downstairs telling the Panama players to go away. Go away.
Well,
I don't want to talk to you right now. Go away. And don't get me wrong, he's probably right. But could you imagine some official in the NFL saying that to a player? It'd be all over the news the next day. Like it'd be crazy. And then they get half the damn calls wrong. Well, either they don't call something that should be called, or they do call something that shouldn't be called. I mean, I feel like the line judges do an okay job.
Well, so let's be fair, okay? About a little objective. There's 22 soccer players and 3 referees, right?
Massive field.
and a massive field, right? So
Maybe give points
the
to only
one
two
main
on one side.
referee only gets to see part of the game. He can only see it from certain angles.
I understand, but
Yeah,
this is your job. You
I get
trained
it,
for it.
but they need to. Why do you think the NFL has so many referees on the field, and they still miss everything?
For accountability.
Maybe they still miss everything.
But see, that's people call it the most beautiful game. I call it the most manipulable game because it is you do have zero accountability on the field. If you have 7 refs, someone's calling the offsides. All right, so just now, or not just now, but a few minutes ago, Panama scored. And when they reviewed it, the announcers go, "Oh yeah, he's clearly offsides." But they didn't look back at it. The guy up top didn't throw his hand up. The referee was damn near getting a hot dog at the stand up top. Like, he's out of the play. Like, what are we doing here? Why even have the refs? Let's just let the soccer players govern themselves then. It's a waste of everyone's space. It's a waste of everyone's time. And I contend that they are the worst at their job because they don't have to be better. Because soccer's a classic game and it's the human element and all this garbage excuses that you want to give for not having accountability within the sport. There's too much money riding on soccer games anymore to have one guy not knowing what the hell he's doing or not paying attention to everything.
Okay.
And furthermore, you got to start finding people for shenanigans. Soccer is full of shenanigans. You know, what it reminds me of is when you see parents and their children and the children's acting up.
Yep.
And they're like, "Get up," and they get up and they start walking really slow. You're like, "Come on, let's go!" And then so they start like doing kind of a sloppy run. Like they're going to do everything possible to be annoying.
Yeah.
For a bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just frustrating. It's frustrating to watch because I come from America, and in this country, our sports are rigid and organized with large rule books and multiple people wearing not flamboyant colors on the field.
Well,
we wear black and white. We don't wear damn green.
That sums it up right there. This is an international game. It's not an American game.
Right.
Yeah, because what's up with the timer counting upward?
Oh my gosh, they went into extra time at the end of regulation.
Yeah.
It said +5, which is a signal that the referee gives to the sideline people, or they buzz down to them. I actually don't know how that works, but that's some communication between the referees and whoever controls the broadcasting information. So +5. Next thing you know, it's 97-35, 97-45, 98, and I'm like, what? When is it stopping?
So yeah, and that's part of the problem. Stoppage time is at the discretion of the referee, and so if you're in that 5 minutes of stoppage time because somebody got hurt and we had to stop the game or whatever for earlier in the half, and now something happens again, you have to add on that time because people are going to try and stall. That's what they do.
But stalling during extra time doesn't give extra time to the extra time.
It does. That's exactly right.
It's not supposed to. Well, then change the ticker. Why does it still say +5? CBS, Fox, everyone on Earth, add another minute. Add another minute.
They don't know exactly how long. That's what I'm saying. The clock is weird.
Because one little man on the field in the neon-colored shirt is controlling everything.
He's got the clock on his wrist.
That guy is terrible at it. Almost always.
Okay.
Almost always. It's frustrating to watch. It's like what Ted Lasso said. This sport has the loosest, goosiest of rules.
And that game you're watching is headed to penalty kicks, I'm sure.
Of course, yeah, because it was 1-1 when we hopped on the air. So, but I can't watch it and continue to be engaged with it when I'm watching some guy clearly grab his ankle like his foot just got amputated by Jigsaw.
We're going to talk about that.
And we've talked about that a couple times. And then poke his eyes up, and then the referee just watches him and goes, "Get up," and he goes, "Okay."
We're going to talk about that.
And there's no repercussion for
today. We're going to talk about that now. I mean, shortly.
Momentarily.
Yeah, momentarily. That's coming up.
It's soccer, all right, man. The sport of fools.
Tell me how you really feel. All right. So, all right.
Came in hot today.
And that's it is, and that's
the show.
That'll do it. We'll see you next week. The Stave and Stone trivia question, which is what I was going to start with, which you already know the answer to. So this is just for the fans, because you ruined it last night. That's okay. Ruined. What Formula One driver holds the record for consecutive race wins, and how many is it? Was the question. So anyway, answer at the end of the show when we're all done ranting and raving about soccer. And or other
90
things.
minutes about soccer and then a few minutes about the Stave and Stone question.
Mostly. let's talk about some things here.
Okay.
NBA. Let's talk about the NBA.
Okay.
First of all, we didn't talk about the NBA draft, and we probably should have, right, at some point in time. But let's talk about Damian Lillard first. Um,
Right.
Damian Lillard, 7-time All Star, 9-time All NBAer, has said he would prefer to be traded from the Portland Trailblazers. His preferred destination is Miami, where he thinks he can win a title as an addition. And I'm not certain that's true. Might be. Um, but Portland is going to be asking a hefty price to get some for him, right? Because you're not going to give him away. Um, and the question is, there's names rumored from Miami: Nikola Jovic, Caleb Martin, even Jaime Jaquez, the new draft pick. I'm not sure, but are you interested in any of those guys as a Blazer fan? Getting them in return for Damian Lillard, and obviously there'd be picks or whatever accompanied with it, because he's probably worth what, 4 players
Right.
at least,
Maybe.
depending on the players.
Depending on the players, yeah.
Um,
Uh,
are you interested in Nikola Jovic? Not Jokic, but Jovic.
not particularly, but I'm also not. I,
Right.
I'm not off of it.
Okay.
It's not a necessity. He doesn't. He's a shoot. He's a small forward. But he shoots.
Right.
And that's his big thing. He's not a very big inside scorer. We don't need shooting power. We need defense and inside scoring.
Okay.
It's what we need, even without Damian Lillard.
Are you interested in Caleb Martin?
A little bit. I could go with Caleb Martin. He plays better defense.
Right.
That's why I choose him over that. And he shoots better than Jovic.
Would Jaime Jaquez be an addition that you'd want?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Jaime Jaquez should be a part of this deal no matter what.
Right.
Yeah. He should be coming to the Jaime Jaquez should be in a Blazer jersey because I want to get that Jaquez Jr. jersey ASAP. That's be cool. You got the coolest name in basketball.
Jaime Jaquez?
Jaime Jaquez Jr.
I don't know. It's Triple J, JJJ. They're gonna. Odds are, so Lillard's contract is worth what, $46 million or something.
Yeah, this year. Next year, I think it bumps up to like 48. Yeah,
it's gigantic. And the guys we're talking about, Jovic, I think, has a $1 million contract. I think Caleb Martin's like $6 million. And Jaime Jaquez just signed a rookie scale contract, so he's not getting paid that much.
Right.
But in addition, you're probably going to want draft picks, because no matter what you get, player wise, you want to build more young talent, because clearly this is going to be how you rebuild. If you're not keeping the star player and going to build around him, or Portland kind of half-assed the building, let's be honest, around him. And part of that was due to they were kind of handicapped in terms of what they had to offer, and the trades were kind of half-assed. Never really got the guy.
They let the windows pass them by.
Yeah.
Nikola Jokic had a fantastic season, right? Fantastic first season.
Yeah.
And then you should have bounced him, because you should have been able to see the writing on the wall that was a great season, but it's kind of topped off. CJ McCollum, about 2018, was worth 2 quality players or a handful of draft picks, a couple number ones and a quality player.
Right.
And they let the value wane on all of those guys. They should have traded LaMarcus the moment they thought he was having some doubts about being in Portland.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just saying you bounce on from people instead of trying to fix things, but Portland made efforts to commit to their guys to their detriment.
And they missed out on maximizing on their value.
Right.
Numerous times. Yeah. And that's hurt them down the road.
Although that being said, the CJ McCollum trade is what got them Shaedon Sharpe.
It's true.
So if you believe in Shaedon Sharpe and you believe what he's going to do for the team, which is still TBD in my book, then that trade wasn't a bad deal.
Right.
Because you also offloaded CJ McCollum's $33.3 million contract.
It's true. Lillard has still 4 years and $200 million left on his deal. Yeah, he's going to be hard to unload. I mean, some team's going to have to unload a lot of money from there.
Well, yeah, you got to find the cap space, right?
Right. And that's the problem, is that a lot of these teams are up against it already. You'd have to get rid of more, here's an example. The highest paid tradable contract on the Miami Heat is Kyle Lowry, $29 million.
Right.
But we don't want Kyle Lowry. I mean, I don't think. I don't want to take him. Tyler Hero, $27 million.
I'd take Kyle Lowry and Jaime Jaquez and a first or 2 firsts.
Yeah,
and that would be fine.
But Jaquez can't be traded till July 31st, end of the month anyway. So that anything's going to have to wait a little.
But the Heat are $50 million over the cap
already.
Being fair, you can go over the cap and just eat penalties, so it's not the
true.
end of the world.
But they'd think about it. They'll have to keep. I mean, they have Butler, Adebayo, Josh Richardson, Kevin Love. They've got players on the team they're going to have to keep. They're not tradable, and then those guys are the majority of your salary, with the exception of Hero and Lowry. But I think I don't know if they can unload enough contract. You know what I mean? It's just going to be so expensive. They do have, well, they really don't have much. Their first round picks that they own are 27, 28, 29. They owe Oklahoma City top 14 protected pick in 2025, and there's some other stuff. But I mean, there's the picks that they can give aren't necessarily that great either. And I understand wanting to get to appease Damian Lillard, and he do right, quote unquote, by him. It's just that may not be right by the Portland Trailblazers. And at this point, since your star wants out, you got to do right by the team moving forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've been clear that that's
right,
not going to happen. They're not going to put themselves in a hole. But
right,
I don't want Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero has to come off their payroll if they want Damian Lillard.
Right.
He has to, because he costs $27 million.
Right.
He's got to go. Kyle Lowry probably has to go too. He costs $29. You could move a handful of other guys. Jaquez is 3.5, Cale Martin 6.8. But even if you gave the Blazers Jaquez, Martin, and Hero, you still don't have enough cap space for Damian Lillard.
Right.
So you have to get other people involved. And at what point are you going to look at your roster and go, damn, we gave up everyone. So we've got Jimmy, Bam, and Dame. That's it. And those are the guys who are going to win us a whole title. No bench depth, no extra guards that are worth a damn. Nothing.
Right. And you're relying on an aging, and I say aging, but aging Damian Lillard, who's
been injured two
times.
The last 2 years he's sustained injuries.
Yeah.
He had that abdominal injury that kept him out almost 30 games.
Yeah.
It's just not. One, Dame is stupid for singling out a single team. All right. There's a lot of teams that could take him, that could use him. Boston would be a great fit for him. It'd be a good spot, and they've actually got some ability after on the offloading Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
To take him in. It's not great. They're still way over, but they've got some ability. I hate to say it, but the Lakers would be a great spot for him. The Warriors are fantastic at managing cap space, and you could have Dame play a shooting guard role off ball of Steph Curry, and then, my God, who the hell do you defend? Dame, Steph, Clay.
Right.
Jeez, or Andrew Wiggins. He could shoot the three too. My goodness. I don't know. I just feel like Miami seems like, hey, this team did really good. I like the way Jimmy plays. Jimmy and Bam are grinders, and I feel like you haven't had a lot of those on the Blazers.
Right.
There've been a lot of guys who are good at what they do, but they're not willing to really grind to get it. Even LaMarcus Aldridge was end of his career, late prime end of his career when Dame got there.
Do you know who else is on this list of potential places? San Antonio,
yeah, go play for Pop.
Yeah, and with Victor apparently, and you can make him a star. Their payroll's not as high.
That team's going to be in shambles if Victor falls through.
Yeah, it's true. They have some picks too, some 24 picks available too. So there's a chance that would be a more manageable situation if Portland could get the right things in return.
But that's why everyone's saying it's going to end up having to be a 3-way trade or a 4-way trade, because there's just no way.
So
there's just no way.
So part of this has to do with who the Blazers keep drafting, and the Blazers draft. The Blazers could have traded away the number 3 pick, right?
Freaking guard possible we take.
And they took every guard. It doesn't matter who it is. And so in the 23 draft, they picked up Scoot Henderson with the number 3 overall pick. They also picked up Chris Murray from Iowa with the number 23 pick in the first round, and Ryan Rupert with the 43rd pick in the second round. I think Murray's
Right.
a good pickup. Scoot Henderson, whether he's the long-term answer or not, I don't know, but I think Murray's a good player. Um, he led Iowa in points 20.2 and rebounds 7.9 and blocks 1.2 last year. I think he's a good player. I think he'll be a good NBA player, not necessarily a star, but a good NBA player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That guy who contributes a lot to a basketball team. You never know about those guys drafted at the top, the Scoot Hendersons of the world and the Victor Wembanyama's. The next thing you know, they're one injury and they're done. One bad season and it gets in their head. There's all kinds of things that can go wrong.
Right.
If you're a player like that and you've never faced adversity, you've been good your whole life, and all of a sudden you're not as good. That's hard for some of those guys to deal with.
Right.
Yeah. So it's an interesting group. I'm not sure, but I mean, I think that the option right now is you're going to get rid of Damian, then do it. You also need to get rid of Nurkic. I'd like to see that go away, and I think you should just start over and get as many draft picks and young guys as you can, and just start building your team again. You might need a veteran at some point in time to throw in there, but just start from scratch.
Yeah.
Nobody does it. Right? Nobody does it
Scoot
anymore.
Henderson. No, Scoot Henderson's listed at 6'2".
Yeah.
I thought he was much taller than that. I didn't know that.
It's the NBA G League uniform makes him look taller.
I guess so, man. I guess
Solid
so.
white makes you look taller. I don't know. I don't know about this whole thing. I just there's a lot of parts and pieces, and I don't know how it's going to end. But I mean, Damian's not getting traded today. This is going to be one of those.
He's probably not going to get traded until right before the season.
That's kind of what I figure is going to happen.
Or mid-season, but I don't know why you would do that.
Nah, I don't know. That's sketchy. I think they'll trade him just before. When all these protected players like Jaquez become available at the end of the month, you're gonna see some moves. Anyway, it's gonna be interesting. The NBA. So let's talk about the NBA. Some other things in the NBA that we need to talk about. Well, there's Tyler Hero, by the way.
Boo.
He's a good-looking kid. He can shoot the ball. I don't want him.
He can shoot the ball. He can't do much else.
Caleb Martin. I'm okay with Caleb Martin.
I think it's time to pivot from this 3-point scoring team.
Yeah.
I'm not that we shouldn't be able to shoot the three. I just think it's time to pivot away from a team that lives and dies by it. I don't think you need to as much anymore. I think a better defensive team would be great. So a guy like Tyler Hero doesn't fit that scheme. Like, he can shoot, great, wonderful, but he can't do much else. I don't know.
Yeah.
And apparently his recovery timeline is terrible.
Yeah, well, that's right. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's talk about a couple other things. There's a couple other things we're going to talk about, and it's rule changes in the NBA. They've approved them now. 2 new rule changes for next season. One of those involves a successful coaches challenge. If you have a successful coaches challenge, you earn a second one.
Sure.
The team will retain the timeout from the first challenge, right? If it's successful. But the second challenge, they lose it no matter what. They lose the timeout, which is kind of weird to me. But not a big deal, I guess. That's kind of the way every league is going, right? If you do it right, then you get another one. That's fine. But the second one is about flopping. And I'm not sure I fully understand the flopping regulation in the NBA and how they're going to enforce it. But they want to try and curb the instances of flopping in games. So when a referee calls a flop, there's going to be a non-unsportsmanlike technical foul called on the offending player's team. That's the wording. On the team? So it's a team technical foul and not against the player? Because, okay, so he doesn't get a personal foul for it, right? Technical fouls are still personal fouls now, right, in the NBA? Did they change it like a while back? So if he's not going to get a personal foul, then the incentive is against the team. I mean, it's just one free throw. It's not like at the end of the world. Is it going to really curb the flopping? If it counts as a personal foul, I think it would be better. Okay, but let's move on.
No, sorry, hold on. I'm reading this now. It goes against the player.
Does it?
It's not a team foul. The offending player will be charged with a non-sportsmanlike technical foul.
Well, the way they worded it earlier, it said it goes the defending player's team. But maybe if it's an individual foul, then good. I'm okay with it.
Also, apparently, I just read that it notes for a possibility for both a foul and flop to be called in the same play.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. You can iron that one out.
So the other team would get a free throw, right? The referees don't have to stop the play to call a flop. They can wait until the next stop in live action if needed.
Yeah.
Which is another interesting thing. I'm like, okay. If the flop gains that team an advantage, will they stop the play? You know what I mean? If somehow or other the flop leads to a travel or they call a foul on the guy, but it's clearly a flop, they're going to have to review it, right?
It sounds like it's going to be an advantage type scenario.
Right. So here's my other problem. You can't review the flop. It cannot be reviewed by a coach's challenge.
But can they review it on their own?
Not specifically. They can call it if they're reviewing something else. So,
well, I read that they can call it in the process of reviewing another foul. But let's say they call beep flopping on the field.
Right. No.
Can they then go? Do they then go look at the monitor to double check it on their own?
I don't know. What I think is going to happen is I don't know. First of all, how many times have you ever seen flopping as the call? What you see is a foul against like the guy with the ball and the defensive guy flops. That's what they're going to review.
Right.
Is it a foul on this guy? They're not reviewing the flop, but when the process of saying, did he commit a foul? Okay, instead, this is now a flop. That's what's going to happen, I think. Okay. They can't specifically go review just a flop, but they can call a flop in the process of reviewing something else, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's just kind of one of those, it's like, let's not give this really any teeth. And we're not going to have a change of possession. So even if the defensive guy flops or the offensive guy flops, let's say you're setting a screen and the defender runs into you and you flop down, or you act like he hit you, the ball won't change possession. That team's going to get a free throw and you'll still have the ball. There's not a whole lot of teeth to it. It's just 1 point. I mean, if they make it. I wish it was more. I wish it was bigger. And why isn't it an unsportsmanlike technical foul? Because now what's going to happen is you can have as many flop calls as you want and not get thrown out of the game, right?
Well, no, I think a
still
technical
two
foul is a foul.
I thought so. What's the difference between an unsportsmanlike technical foul and a regular technical foul? What's the advantage? Nothing. So it doesn't make any sense. Sure. If a technical foul is a technical foul, then it doesn't make any difference why it's unsportsmanlike or not unsportsmanlike. Is there a suspension that goes with unsportsmanlike technical fouls if you get two of them? That's what I don't know. So I haven't read into it fully, but the whole wording is so, I don't like it.
Well, I mean, it's a new rule. You got to iron it out.
Oh, sure.
With a little time and some things.
$2,000 fine for the first offense, the first flop. Plus, it's going to increase for subsequent violations. That's what this says. Right. The NBA says. So I guess we're going to have to see it enforced. We're going to have to look at it and see what happens. I don't know that it's going to be better. They need to do something, right? Because it is a thing. Now, flopping, as defined by the NBA, right, is an intentional motion to try and draw a foul call without an actual foul being committed, right? So I'm showing some pictures right now. This one here, there's a flop. I mean, there's no doubt.
He's barely even leaning into you.
Right. And so most of when guys do this and they throw their arms up in the air, that's a flop. Even if you don't fall down, you're still making the motion like, oh my gosh, I was just murdered, right? Now, these guys aren't nearly as good at it as these guys. Oh, wait, no, wrong guy. I'm still not there yet. I still got a whole lot of flopping pictures. I didn't realize I had that many. As these guys. But bringing us back to soccer, right? Because that's the way the NBA is headed, and I know that's what they're trying to avoid, is that it becomes soccer where a guy falls down and rolls around grabbing his ankle for 6 hours, right? And like he's just been murdered or shot and, trying to draw a foul. I get it. I would want to avoid that too because it's stupid. I think that it's stupid in soccer as well. But soccer doesn't even correct it the way they should.
Right.
I think if you go down, here's my personal feeling. This happens in soccer and it could happen in basketball. I think if you go down to the ground and are complaining of an injury, you should have to come out for a mandatory period of time.
Sure.
Just period.
I completely agree.
2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. You have to be out.
Make it longer. Make it 10. You're hurt, clearly.
In the NBA, you couldn't do that because that's most of the game. In soccer, you could do that. It's a 90-minute game.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, you should have to come out. Just
Well, in the NBA, I would say you do it until a coach calls a timeout or until there's a media timeout. But you can't check back in on dead balls.
Right. Yeah. Make it something. You have to be evaluated by a doctor. I don't know. Just like you do with concussions. I don't know. Make it
So
something.
everything I'm reading here, by the way, does not delineate in terms of ejecting players the difference between a technical and non-sportsmanlike and unsportsmanlike in terms of technical fouls. I think it's still just
Just
two and you're out.
okay. So I wonder
Yeah.
why the distinction between the two. There must be suspension that goes along with unsportsmanlike
Fines,
later. Yeah. Yeah.
suspensions, yeah, things like that.
Okay.
It's clearly different than fighting, right?
And that makes sense. I mean, but yeah, I don't know. I don't like flopping. I think it's stupid. Both sports. I mean, it doesn't matter what sport it is, but it happens in every game. It happens in NFL, right? Oh,
By the way, Panama just won on penalty kicks on the 6th penalty kick.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
They went to an extra penalty kick.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Yeah, United States this is not necessarily their best team either out there at the moment. So
well, not when Christian Pulisic is traipsing around Italy trying to
right.
take over a physical so he can go play. I mean, not that he owes the U.S. anything, but isn't this the goal to get to a national soccer stage?
Yeah,
but I guess not for some people. I guess he's past it.
Yeah, he's bigger than this.
He's bigger than this. That's why he's leaving the U.S. to go play in Europe.
And there's
any hoozles.
Yeah, it's okay. There's four. There were at least 4 substitutions for the United States that would have been starters in this game.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It isn't the number 1 team, and Panama seems to always give the United States a hard time no matter what. One of those teams that you just hate playing against. Anyway, but yeah.
So yes, they need to be more vigilant about how they punish people who flop, how they punish people who fake injuries. And things like that.
They do. Let's talk about.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
I had something else I was going to talk about there because you jumped over from the extended coaches challenge. You get one more.
Yeah.
Why does it stop there?
Why?
If I am getting it right when you are getting it wrong.
Time.
What's the problem?
Time. It has everything to do with time.
No, I get it. I get it. Yeah. I just need somebody else to admit that it's not a logical reason.
There's
it's purely we want to get on with this so we can get to the next game that tips off at 7:30.
I'll back you up with that. That's correct.
Yeah. It's not right. If I call 2 challenges and I get them both right, I should continue to get them forever until I get one wrong because clearly I am capable of doing your job from this seat over here better than you are.
Yeah. You get 2 really good coaches at challenging, and you'll never get out of there.
I mean, half the time challenges are just for effect almost.
Sure.
Slow down the play. And
it's a timeout.
A challenge is a timeout, but it's a long timeout.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice. But I see coaches get a lot of them right.
Yeah.
A lot of them right. So that I mean, I always have to wonder: does an official who then goes, "Oh, the challenge is successful," turn around and go, "Damn it."
Maybe.
I didn't see it like that. There are 3 of us, and none of us saw it like that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But this one guy over here who's being obscured by somebody saw it.
Is he going to get a fine and by the league later and lose some money?
That sort of thing.
I don't know.
But anyways, on to the next.
Yeah, let's talk about the Major League Baseball All-Star Game was in Seattle last night. The National League won 3-2 on the strength of Colorado catcher Elias Diaz's 2-run homer in the top of the 8th inning. The win snapped a 9-game losing streak by the National League. Diaz was also named All-Star Game MVP, becoming the first Rocky to win the award.
Yeah, go Rocky.
Right? And the home run derby. Well, hold on. Let's back up. The home run that Diaz hit was his first ever All-Star Game at bat. But he was, he's the 24th player ever to do that. And coincidentally, the 23rd player to do that did it in this same game. Yandy Diaz went deep for the American League in the 2nd inning. It was his first.
Diaz's?
Yeah, both Diaz's went. The Diaz brothers. They're not brothers. But anyway. And then Vlad Guerrero Jr. won Monday's home run derby if you were watching the home run derby contest. Did you watch any of the All-Star things? I mean, I didn't.
I was busy and working, so I didn't get a chance to. But I watched a lot of the highlights and stuff like that.
Right.
And I thought it was not bad. It's the MLB All-Star Game is just tough. It's tough to gauge.
It's the last remaining All-Star Game that I'll take that. Yeah, no, it is. It's the last remaining All-Star Game where guys kind of play hard. You know?
Well, I mean, as hard as a baseball player has to play.
Correct. But they're still playing
Outside
baseball.
of a pitcher, but the pitchers only pitch like an inning, right?
Right. So yeah, I mean, but
So that doesn't matter.
you still have to hit a 90-something mile an hour fastball. You still have to hit, you still have to make plays. It's not like, oh, well, we're just going to let them score because we're probably going to score next, because that's the NBA All-Star game, right? The NBA All-Star game is nothing more than a three-point dunk fest, special plays. Let's see if we can alley-oop this ball, that kind of thing, where there's no defense. The All-Star game had two in the second inning. It had two second inning. It had two outfield wall leaping catches, right?
Woo.
And that their people are actually playing hard, and I like that. I don't think it means anything. I think a game is pointless, but I like the fact that they're playing hard because the NFL said, hey, we're gonna play flag football.
Right.
That's our All-Star game. That's dumb. The NBA doesn't play defense. That's dumb. The NHL, I think, plays a pretty hard game, but they're not allowed to like hit each other and do fights, which I think they want to.
Yeah.
But which opens up the game and there's more scoring, which is better for fans anyway. But you don't want to get hurt in an All-Star game. I get that.
Did I hear this rule right that every player had to play this year?
I don't know about that. I didn't see that one.
I thought they changed the rule because I was listening to the radio, and it said that every player has to play. Meaning, and I love that. I'm spending $4,000 on a freaking nosebleed ticket here, and I don't even get to watch my guy play.
That's
get the hell out of here. But put him in. The game doesn't count. It doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't it though? Don't we still do home field advantage for it? Okay, it means a little.
It means a little to somebody, maybe eventually.
Right. Yeah.
So
it doesn't mean anything to Seattle because they're never in the World Series.
Got them.
Yeah,
but if that's what the rule was, I think that's great. I think it's good. I think this is a fan event.
It is. It is.
You should absolutely get a chance to see your guy play. So
all right. I
think that's a good deal.
Okay. I feel like that lessens the competition level. You know what I mean? You're not playing the best 9 to try and win the game. You're playing everyone, which, meh. I mean, they're still great players. I'm not saying they're not great players, but there is definite drop off between your first 5 or 6 and the rest of the team. You know that's true. Yeah.
Sure.
So I don't know.
It's Shohei and everyone else.
Yeah, that's right. And apparently the Seattle fans were trying to get him to come to Seattle. They were chanting at him.
Yeah,
because he's a free agent.
I heard that he said that. Oh, I spent some off season here. It's like, you spent some off seasons here, multiple. This is good.
That'd be interesting.
That Seattle team is really close to kind of turning a corner and being really good. And Shohei Ohtani would do it.
What the sad part is? The Los Angeles Angels have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, and they can't win baseball games. I mean, those are two of the best hitters. Not to mention him pitching.
Your pitcher only pitches how many games a season?
Yeah, but those are two of the best hitters in baseball, and they can't win baseball games. Oh, look, Mike Trout went 2 for 3 with a home run and a double. Shohei Ohtani threw 7 innings of shutout baseball and hit a home run. They lost 4-3, and you're like, Jesus.
It's because the other pitchers suck, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
They spent all the money on those.
Everyone else.
They spent all the money on those 2 guys. Yeah. Anyway, it's interesting. Yeah. All right.
So outside it takes more than 2 guys to have a great baseball team.
Yeah, it does.
It does. So.
Let's talk about golf for just a minute.
Say who's in court in this picture? Jeez.
So that's Ron Price and Jimmy Dunn. It says right in the picture. Ron Price is the CEO of the PGA Tour organization, and Jimmy Dunn is a board member, independent board member. They were testifying in front of Congress about the merger between the PIF and LIV and the PGA Tour. And I'm just going to read you a little quote. So the U.S. Congress is investigating this merger because of the involvement of the Saudis, right? So Jimmy Dunn, the guy on the right, and you see in this picture here, he was fielding questions, and he said, and I quote, "There is no merger. There is no deal. There is simply an agreement to try to get to an agreement to settle the lawsuits."
What?
Yeah, that's what his quote was. There's no agreement. There's no deal. There's no merger. There's no deal. There's simply an agreement to try to get to an agreement to settle the lawsuits.
Breathe in a sigh of relief.
What it sounds like is you're lying. Ron Price, the man on the left, when asked about the potential investment from the Saudis, how big an investment are we talking about? He said it could be north of $1 billion.
Okay.
That's a lot of money. That's the reason why you'd want to investigate that, is because that kind of control, that kind of influence is big. Saudis are going to do it, whatever they want. They're going to buy what they want, right?
Right.
They've been buying teams and events and things. I mean, that's what they do. That's what they want to get into. You're not really going to keep them out one way or the other. And if this for some reason falls apart, and you've had PGA Tour board members who are resigning because they don't like it.
Right.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with this whole thing, but the PGA Tour looks bad because of all of this.
They kind of look in shambles. Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks bad on them. Worst case, LIV wins this whole thing, and the PGA Tour can't afford to pay their people because they promised these big payrolls, right? They bumped up all the money in all these events, but they can't afford it.
Right.
So that's why they're getting involved with the Saudis. And I'm like, that was the reason the other guys left. You weren't paying enough money, making them play too much golf. You weren't giving them exemptions. And then the other thing I have a problem with the PGA Tour is you're required to play. You're not an employee. You're a contractor, right? You're an independent contractor. You're not an employee of the tour. But you're required to play X amount of events, and we'll give you certain exemptions at certain times. The John Deere Classic was this last weekend.
Okay.
Where are the big names in the John Deere Classic? Where's Rory McIlroy? He's not playing in that. He doesn't have to. Why? Because you treat him differently than you do the 124th rated golfer, right? He's got an exemption kind of up his sleeve whenever he wants to because he was your spokesman. And this is the kind of thing that I think that had you treated all of the players like that, oh, I don't want to play this week. Okay, right? Not everyone's going to not play because some people are going to see it as their chance to win if the other players aren't playing. But you need to be flexible instead of saying you all have to play and you're only going to get this many exemptions and you got to play 40 weeks a year. And that's why those guys left and went to LIV. Bigger payouts, less golf, more time. Three rounds. You don't have to play 3 rounds. You don't have to play 4. But anyway, it's interesting. I don't know what's going to happen with this whole thing, but we'll see. So speaking of that, there's Sepp Straka, who won the PGA's John Deere Classic, shooting a final round of 9 under 62. That could have easily been a 59 if he hadn't hit it in the water on the 18th fairway. 59 is an amazing score.
Yeah.
Straka finished 2 shots ahead of Brendan Todd and Alex Smalley. And if you're like me, you just said, who? Right? I mean, that all 3 names. Who? And that's part of what I'm saying. The PGA Tour makes it sound like we have bigger stars at our events. These guys are not stars.
These guys aren't the kind. Maybe they're future stars, but they're not the stars that everyone else is thinking of.
Sepp Straka has been on the PGA Tour since I think 2018 or 19. He's got 2 wins. This is his second one, and so he's not like a big household name. And he's Austrian, so not if you're from Austria, maybe you know him, but not from the United States. Cameron Smith, this gentleman with the mullet, won LIV's London event at 15 under. He's 1 shot ahead of Patrick Reed. I don't know. I think the LIV Tour kind of has it right. Less golf, more money, right? Wouldn't everybody like to do that? If they came to you and said, "Hey, we're going to shorten your work week to 30 hours, but we're going to pay you 50% more," you're going to do it in a heartbeat. Absolutely, absolutely. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens. We'll keep an eye on the whole congressional hearings, which usually amount to nothing.
I just love that of all of the things that are going on in our country,
this is what we're wasting time on.
We have time to gather congressmen and senators to grill some dudes who own and run a golf business. I get that it's a big deal, and I get that it has a large impact on the economy. I get that gambling's a real thing, and gambling on golf's a real thing, and that has a large impact on the economy. I get that there's a lot of avenues of this, but there are people starving, and I could care less that, oh, the Saudis are putting $1 million into it. Well, that's suspicious. Like, it doesn't really. I mean, it's sports and it's important for our show and things like that, but it just, whenever I hear that the Senates are getting involved in hearings, I'm like, why? What is going on here?
Yeah, I don't know.
Either it's way more shady than it seems, or it's way less important than it needs to be.
Right. Is it a matter of national security? Is that what we're doing? Because I don't know.
What is that quote? Is the Is the president's underwear really a matter of national security?
Oh my gosh.
What is that
I
from?
don't know. I know what you're saying. I've got that.
Oh, I've got to look it up. That's gonna kill me.
You're right. I think you ought to do it. But I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I'm sitting here looking it up too.
That quote, it's
Yeah.
the dumbest quote. But no, great. Now I type in the president's underwear really matter of national security. It says Trump never got classified intelligence briefing. Great.
No, it was the colonel's underwear. It was from A
Oh,
Few Good
that's
Men.
right. Few good men. Is the
Yeah.
colonel's underwear really matter of national security?
Right.
That's right.
Right. The colonel.
Colonel's underwear.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
Anyway.
glad we did that.
Yeah, we had to look that up because we couldn't have moved on until that happened. That was
It was too good of a quote for the moment to go.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't just pass
Where'd
that
that
up.
come from?
Yeah, you're right. Let's talk about Formula One because there's excitement in Formula One as well. Formula One was in Silverstone. Max Verstappen and the Red Bull team continued their dominance over the rest of the Formula One field with an easy victory at Silverstone, England, in the British Grand Prix. And I say easy because, yeah, he trailed the first 4 laps because he couldn't start well. And Lando Norris had a good start and rightfully was out in front. But after that, it was never really in doubt. There was a stoppage. There was a yellow flag in a safety car with like 15 laps left because Kevin Magnussen's car just decided to not have power anymore, which I think happened in qualifying as well to him.
Right. Yeah.
But, his car just gave up. So, and he stopped on the track. He got out of the way, which was nice, out of the racing line, but
It still caused a stoppage.
yeah, you got to have a stoppage. And so with 15 laps left, the margin of victory wasn't as big, but it was still easy. He was never really challenged at the end. The racing was for second and third and fourth and fifth. That was a better part of the race to watch Norris and Hamilton and a Piastri who, oh man, I wish he would have finished third. Wish he would have got a podium. But
I guess that's a good question. What was the margin of victory the lap before the stop?
Good question. I think it was much
Because he was
much
only
bigger.
3.8 seconds ahead of Lando.
Right. But I think when the flag happened, he wasn't pit stop far, but he was like 15 seconds ahead.
Right.
Yeah. So
That tracks.
and I think that McLaren had screwed themselves because they pitted before this safety car came out and went on different tires and now they didn't really have the ability to go back in and pit again without losing places. And so they kind of got stuck out, and I think that's what happened to Piastri. He just kind of got stuck out there on some hard tires that he probably shouldn't have been on at the end.
Yeah.
But he still finished fourth, and more power to him. That's his best finish as a rookie this year, so that's pretty good. And McLaren looked a lot better. Those cars looked a lot faster than they have all season.
Yeah. It definitely looked good. McLaren in the last 2 races has looked fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're going to make a little push here. I don't know if it's going to be a push, to win,
Right.
but it's going to be a push to be competitive.
Sure. I also like. How do you feel about some of the liveries? Did you like the Williams car with the British flag on it?
I did.
I like that.
Permanent livery.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and the little Duracell battery on the top. I kind of like that one.
The Duracell battery is fun.
And I like the Chrome, the Google Chrome McLaren
Google
cars.
McLaren, which is a throwback to the older McLarens that were chrome. Yeah.
They're cool looking. I like the way that looks, and that should be a permanent thing. McLaren has like the best liveries when they come out, right? The Gulf one, and the anytime they throw on the baby blue with the orange, and I mean it just looks good. I don't know.
Yeah.
They have the coolest looking cars. Let's call them that. Speaking of so, let me just go back. Yeah, he won in 4 seconds. It was the margin of victory. And Lando Norris was second. Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton was third. His 11th straight race at Silverstone with a podium finish. And then Norris's teammate Oscar Piastri was fourth, his highest finish of his young career so far. And speaking of rookies, which we're gonna. The big loser was Ferrari, kind of.
Yeah,
it
seems like we say that a lot.
Yeah, this year we have been for sure. They don't seem to have it, right? They're not quite there, and it doesn't matter which team is there. They're just right behind that team, whatever it is, Mercedes or McLaren or whoever. This time I think they're behind both of them, but they just weren't quite in it.
Right.
So speaking of rookie, and also okay, let's back up before we talk about rookies. We also had let's admit there were a lot of celebrities at this thing, right?
Oh yeah.
We saw Brad Pitt. right?
Yes.
Who's doing his movie, which is
Making
called,
a
what's the
movie.
movie called?
I don't
Oh,
know if we know what the movie's called yet.
I think we did know what it was called. I'm trying to remember what it's called. F1 movie. What's it called? I just looked up the name of it the other day. It's called.
Oh,
Ah,
it has to do with their team name.
does it?
It has to do with their team name. Oh my gosh.
Nah, I don't know.
It
I
has
was
to do
looking
their
it up
their
and I
team
don't see
name
it.
is oh no, it says it's currently untitled.
Oh, I thought they had a name for it already, but maybe I'm wrong.
I thought they did
Eh,
I thought they did too,
right.
but the team name that they have was Apex.
Apex. That was it.
I thought that's what it was called, and that's what their team name is, APX.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that was pretty cool seeing him
Yeah.
there, them actually filming. And let's be real, that Apex livery,
Right.
that is a tough looking livery.
And then there was other. So did you see the Cara Delevingne?
Yeah.
Did you see, not wanting to speak on TV? Um, to Martin Brundle. Martin Brundle's pit walks. If you get a chance to watch F1, it comes on before the actual race coverage. He
A
does
little while,
on their
yeah.
Sunday, their F1 Sunday coverage. If you watch it, he goes traveling down the pit lane and starts talking to all these celebrities. And Kara did not want to talk to him. She literally just said no and was talking with, I don't know, whoever, one of the guys there, and not him. And he's like, well, I think part of the rule is now you have to, because of the Megan Thee Stallion thing that happened last year, where her people tried to forcibly move Martin Brundle away from her. And he's like, no, you're out here. This is part of the thing. You need to be
I
talking.
don't know that they have to.
I,
I
I,
thought that they were supposed to, but maybe they
I think
don't.
if they're standing on the grid, they have to. I think that's the rule that F1 or Sky Sports made them agree to. Made F1 made everybody agree to. If you're here, you're game. You're fair game. And so speaking of that, he also was down there. Florence Pugh, and then he saw um, Pep Guardiola, who shrugged him off at a previous race. And then he tried to talk to him. This time he talked to him, but he didn't seem to know who he was still.
Right.
And I'm like, are you an F1 fan, or are you just here because it's a celebrity thing and it's cool to be seen here? Because if you're an F1 fan, you know who Martin Brundle is. I mean, he's not only the commentator, the color guy on on Sky Sports for F1, he's also a former F1 race driver, right?
Right.
And you should know that. But doesn't look like those people did. And then did you hear Damian Lewis singing the national anthem?
I did not know.
He sang "God Save the King," which, by the way, is now the official, because it used to be "God Save the Queen."
Oh yeah.
But now we got a king, right? We had to change it.
I didn't know they would change it.
It didn't sound great. I'm just gonna say that. I did not like it. It's not like the way it came out.
There's a reason why you tune in at race time.
Right? Yeah. There's a reason why I just, like 3 minutes before the little Rolex clock clicks on and they go rolling away. Um, but yeah, it's interesting to see the celebrities and what they, this is a big deal in England. It's a huge thing, and F1 is becoming, I think, bigger. As I've been watching it for the last 3 years, it's
Right.
becoming bigger and bigger. More celebrities, more stuff going on. Obviously they're trying to
It's gotten interesting.
the American audience involved. With the newer races, Miami now, and then Las Vegas this year, and it's interesting. It's
So it looks like the Martin Brundle clause
Yeah.
does not require celebrities to speak to him.
It doesn't.
All that it does is that celebrities are not allowed to have security on the grid, because that was the
Oh,
big
'cause that was the
crux of
problem.
that little incident.
Got
Was that
it.
those guys were holding him back.
Gotcha.
And,
So-
but it says, while celebrities are on the grid are not required to give interviews to the media, they will be asked to be courteous should they decline to speak. And I don't think that Cara Delevingne wasn't courteous.
She wasn't.
She was
no.
short.
Yeah,
but
it was okay, but
it wasn't as courteous. However, Martin Brundle was a little rude afterward.
I mean, you might have. Yeah.
When he said, "I bet it would have been thrilling."
I bet it would. That's smart though. That's a good.
It's cheeky.
That's a
but
good one.
it's,
Well, yeah.
But it's
That's a good.
it's also unnecessary.
That's a
right?
good British term to use. It's cheeky. Yeah.
Cheeky. Well, I mean, I feel like that's the way you describe people who are slyly backhanding
Yeah.
other people.
I mean, anyway. I mean, why not? If you're down there, why not? You're a celebrity. Aren't you used to having a microphone in your face? What's the problem?
Yeah, but I mean, don't you ever just want to get out? And
Then
be a
don't
normal
be in
person
public.
and watch some F1.
Then don't be on the grid. Your regular person is not standing on the grid next to the driver. That's not how this works.
All right, but if you could right now, would you?
I would, and I would give every interview ever. I would stay there until they didn't want to talk to me anymore.
I agree.
I would do that anyway, even if I wasn't somewhere important.
I don't think she did anything wrong.
No,
I
not
don't think
really.
he did anything
It was
wrong.
just
I
an
think it's
interesting,
a
awkward
bigger
interaction.
hubbub about
Yeah,
it than there needs to
it
be.
was just an awkward interaction. So speaking of Formula One racing, these two knuckleheads right here, part
That's
of
the
it,
best way to call them.
part
Best thing
of
to call
part of a group investing in yeah, see,
Williams.
yeah, and so now the problem was that the Williams cars finished. Did both cars didn't finish in the first race that they've invested in, and it kind of reminded me of them buying the Wrexham team, Ryan
Yeah,
Reynolds
I
and Rob
thought that they
McElhenney.
both. I thought they were invested like 3 weeks ago,
Yeah,
and
I don't
Albon was starting to go on a tear.
I don't think that's when I don't know exactly when it happened. I think this was the first race after it was announced that they were. Maybe they did invest earlier, but maybe this is like the first one that got full coverage. But anyway, we'll see what happens. They managed to turn around a soccer team. You think they can turn around an F1 team?
Probably.
Probably.
They've got enough money.
Yeah. At least they're going to bring American eyes to it, or Canadian eyes. So yeah, because but anyway, it's interesting. So also we're going to talk about, and I don't have the picture. My other pictures didn't get in here, but speaking of rookies, Nick DeVries is out at AlphaTauri, replaced by Danny Ricciardo, who will start the next race in Hungary on July the 23rd. Which kind of isn't a surprise, considering Red Bull had him tucked away, right? They immediately kind of secured him as a reserve driver.
Yeah.
And he might be the heir apparent to Sergio Perez's seat.
I think he is.
If he doesn't turn around and do, I mean, how good does Sergio Perez need to be? Your team is going to win. Your team is going to win the constructors' championship, mostly because Max wins every damn race.
It has a little bit to do with Sergio, but not that much.
I
mean, all he has to do is be decent for like half a season.
Right.
And your team's going to walk away with it. Decent. He doesn't even have to finish number 2 every time. He could finish top 5 for half a season. The rest of the season, he could just not finish and they'd be fine.
And there's only been 11 races so far, and Max won 9, and Sergio won the other 2, so he's done what he needed to do.
Right. But they're bumping heads.
I hear you. I get it.
They've been bumping heads for 2 years.
And
if we believe anything, it's that if Max looks at Christian and says, I'm done working with him.
So here's the thing.
I don't want to do it anymore. They're going to bounce him.
Here's the thing. If you're Sergio Perez, I think you need to go have a long conversation with Valtteri Bottas.
About being a good wingman?
Is the grass greener where you are now than when you were finishing second intentionally to Lewis Hamilton? Which he was. That was his main job, was to get in the way and be the buffer. You know what I mean? Steal a point, fastest lap if he needed to. That's all he did. He wasn't trying to win. He wasn't supposed to win. And now, if Lewis Hamilton goes out, well, yeah, they obviously want him to win. But, he's doing exactly, Sergio Perez is in the exact same situation. That's what he's supposed to do. And is it worth it? I mean, they're going to pay you a crap ton of money to just do that. And is your discontent because you don't get a chance to win?
Well, it's probably not because you don't get a chance to win. It's probably because when you're in a position to win, you're liable to have that position compromised.
True.
By your own team.
By your own team.
Like, when push comes to shove and you're in first and Max is on your heels, the name of the game isn't going to be lock out the front row. It's going to be let Max pass, then lock out the front row.
Right.
It's just not the same. Give Max a gap, slow down the next guy.
Right.
It's never going to be asked of Max to do that because Max has said, quote, never asked me to do that again.
Right.
So Max will not do that. So they need a team player, and if Sergio is any kind of restless,
right,
and Max is any kind of unhappy with that restlessness, they're gonna have to bounce him. I think the grass is not green on the other side. I think Valtteri Bottas should have stayed at Mercedes, but you want to strike out and do your own thing. That's great. But I would also, if I was him, you're right. I would look to Valtteri as an example of what other teams are competing right now. So if he left Red Bull and went to McLaren or Mercedes or Ferrari, that's not a bad deal, right? It's not great, but it's not a bad deal. But if he leaves and goes to Williams or AlphaTauri or Alpine, that's not good.
Right.
You're not going to, or Haas, you're not going to be winning, competing.
Right.
So,
it's funny. Prior to this race, McLaren had 29 constructors points, and then they got 30 in this race. They're still a far cry from Ferrari, Aston Martin, and Mercedes. I mean, at least 100 points back of Ferrari. But
Got a double score though.
but yeah, I mean that's amazing. If they can continue that jump, they've had 42 points in the last 2 races. So they only had 17 in the first 9. That's amazing.
Their car looks a lot better.
Yeah, and
their average speed this last race was only like a couple miles, or it was only like a 0.2 of a mile an hour off of off of Red Bulls. So that's great.
Both Aston Martin and Ferrari didn't do well necessarily in this race, but
they struggled.
A little bit, but they're kind of right there in the thick of the thing for the constructor series. But
we're all kind of happy for Fernando Alonso, but we were all wondering like, when's the shoe going to drop? Because this is Aston Martin. Aston Martin hasn't been great. Lance Stroll hasn't been a good teammate. Like you felt like Fernando was doing more with that car than what that car was really capable of.
Right.
And then when races like this happen, you kind of go, that's about where I expected Aston Martin to be. It was 4th or 5th on the grid, in terms of like team placement.
He finished 3rd for the first 5 races.
Yeah.
And then finished 2nd.
Yep.
And then I think it was 7th, 6th place, and then 2nd again. So in his first 8 races of the year, he finished 3rd 5 times and 2nd twice, Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
And he's still behind Sergio Perez.
He's still behind Sergio Perez.
Yeah. So part of that has to do with the sprint races, getting extra points from the sprint races. Like Sergio Perez got 33 points from Azerbaijan because he won the race and he won the sprint race.
Right.
So that's a big haul. I'm not sure I like the way they're doing sprint races this year. It's different than it was last year, leading to the quals. You know what I mean? Last year you did the sprint race to determine your qualification spot for the race.
Right.
They're not doing that this year.
It's just extra points.
It's just extra points, which is weird.
Just for fun. Just for funs and giggles.
It's just another race. Then just make another race. Anyway, whatever.
Make another race, yeah.
Just make another race.
The Friday race and the Sunday race.
Yeah. Might as well. Anyway, all right. I'm Formula 1'd out now. We'll talk about it. Like I said, next race is in Hungary on July the 23rd. And I'm not sure what time that comes on. I think they're still Eastern European time in Hungary. So it'd still be like 7 or 8 hours ahead.
Way too late.
Yeah, it is. But it's not like when it is in Singapore or Japan when it's tomorrow. Future racing. What you're watching is happening tomorrow.
I meant to say earlier, the race is at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
It's early. It's just like, I like watching Formula One.
I do.
That is the part that I struggle with, is waking up at 7 a.m. to watch it. Because you don't just have to wake up at 7 a.m. You have to wake up at 6:30 to give yourself time to go to the bathroom and get a snack and then get ready to start processing it. But your body's still like, man, it's early. So about 5 laps in, you're kind of starting to doze off a little bit.
So we get the newspaper here in Yakima, Washington, the Yakima Herald. Yeah. We get the Herald, and we get it. The only print versions come out three times a week. It's Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Okay. Sure. Everything else is online. You get the online access, which, okay, whatever. I don't go online and I read it, but I do like the actual paper. So we get the print version of the paper. Wednesday's news, when it comes in and you read the sports page, right? Because that's where I turn first. So you read the sports page on Wednesday's news, and everything is, here's Tuesday's Major League Baseball scores, Tuesday night. And every one of them says late game. And I was like, no, they weren't all. Some of those were afternoon games. They print the version for Wednesday so early on Tuesday evening that none of the things are reported on. So you're not getting any current news. If it happened Monday, it'll be in Wednesday's paper. And so every morning when I go outside and I get the paper and I bring it in and I set it on the table and I tell your mother, I go, here, hey, Yakima Herald, yesterday's news today. So
yesterday's news today. That's funny.
Yeah, that's what we're paying for, is to not learn anything that happened. And everything's old. All the news is old news. every day, and I'm like, I feel like I'm living in the past. So
I love that quote. Yesterday's news today.
anyway, so do you want to talk about the NFL?
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about it.
Okay, let's talk about the NFL because
Yeah, I got time. All that's
you're
on the
not doing anything.
backside of this is no, just playing guitar and stuff.
Well, all
The
right.
usual.
Yeah, Um, NFL suspended 4 players for gambling violations. This was early last week, I feel like. Isaiah Rodgers, Rashad Berry of the Indianapolis Colts. I got pictures, by the way. Isaiah Rodgers and Rashad Berry, who play for the Indianapolis Colts. Free agent Demetrius Taylor. They were all suspended indefinitely through at least the 2023 season for betting on NFL games last year.
Right.
In addition, Tennessee Titans offensive tackle Nicholas, I don't know how to pronounce his name because it's French, Petitfrere? Maybe.
Petit frère.
Petitfrere. He was suspended 6 games for betting on other sports at the workplace. So I guess that brings us to the betting policy, and the I understand not letting them bet on football, right? Professional football, because
Right.
you have a direct influence and you have inside information, right? I get why you do that, but betting on another sport, what's absolutely wrong with that? Other than you might have inside information from some other guy in another sport, right? As a professional athlete,
Right.
you might be privy to some information that most people aren't. I don't. I guess my moral issue with this whole thing is the NFL is partnered with FanDuel, Caesars Entertainment, which is also partnered with DraftKings, and the NFLPA lists those same sponsors. The NFL Players Association lists those companies as corporate sponsors or partners. If
Right.
your NFL Players Association is going to have gambling websites as corporate sponsors or partners and they can't use them, I don't
Right.
understand that.
Is this a little funky or what?
Yeah, it just sounds weird, doesn't it? It seems like you wouldn't want to take that money. You wouldn't have them as a sponsor because your players aren't allowed to do it. They're out. No, no. Let's back up. The NFL rule says you can do it. You can gamble on other sports on your own time, not at a team facility, not on the road. That's what the rule says. So if you're at home, work on Tuesday, you got a home game on Sunday, and you're off,
Right.
you're not at the facility, you're not working out, you're at home lounging around, you can place the bet on another sport, not football.
Right.
So that's where the problem runs in. I have a problem is it's okay to do this but not this. And there's such it's weird rules, and that the simple fact that it's so easy on apps to place a bet now, and there's so many websites to do it, you're asking for trouble. And then you're all courting them and their money to be sponsors. And so every league is doing it, with the exception of MLS, apparently. Um, I sit in here, I did a little research, and I'm like, okay, well, first of all, the gambling industry is going to continue to be involved in sports and TV and marketing, and I get it. But how do the leagues ensure that there's fair competition? How do you stop? You have to do something, and that's what the NFL is trying to do, right? Say, oh, we can't bet on football. But the guys are still doing it. There's been 9 suspensions in 2023 from the NFL alone. There were 5 suspensions, 4, 5? Anyway, 4 or 5 in the previous however many year history of the NFL for gambling.
Right.
So it's becoming more frequent. It's going to continue to be a problem as it becomes more prevalent, the gambling itself. Um, I should probably let you talk because I'm just in here rambling.
No, I mean,
but
I agree. It seems hypocritical.
the
Uh,
NFL,
as
the
well.
NFL's partnered with those people. The MLB is also partnered with FanDuel and MGM Resorts. Um,
Yeah.
the NBA just lists FanDuel as a corporate partner. That's the
Right.
only one they list. The NHL has Betway, FanDuel, BetMGM, DraftKings, Ballybet, and Caesar Sportsbook. There's 6. The
Right.
PGA Tour has Bet365, BetMGM, BetParks, DraftKings, FanDuel, PointsBet. Those are all for the PGA Tour. So it's a common thing, and I don't know what the PGA Tour rule is. I didn't look at it. I know that there are penalties for gambling and what the rules are trying to say. The NFL gambling policy from 2018, and I'm reading the that's the latest version, I guess. it says that, like it says the players can bet in their own time on other sports other than football. But then it also goes on to say all NFL personnel other than players are further prohibited from placing, soliciting, or facilitating bets on any other professional, college, international, or Olympic sports competition, tournament, or event.
Right.
So if you're a player, you can, but if you're anybody else in the NFL, you can't. What? What is that? Why? Why? That it seems to be kind of arbitrary to me. Anyway,
it's because it's broad, right?
Right.
Like what is an NFL staffer? Kitchen staff?
Right. Who's included in
bets?
that? Right. Yeah.
Right. That sort of stuff. I mean, I would say if you're on the payroll of the team or whoever owns the team, then you probably are not allowed to do it. I know in college you're not allowed to bet on anything, professional or otherwise. Like as a staffer, that was one of the things that we signed in our contract at Portland State was that you were not allowed to bet on anything. Period. Nothing at all. Across any sport. Didn't matter how disconnected it was. You couldn't even do it on a sport that doesn't exist in this country, like cricket. Was not allowed. There was no betting. No betting, no gambling.
The NFL also says that players and personnel are not allowed to engage in gambling in NFL facilities, disclose any non-public NFL information, enter a sports book during the NFL season, or maintain any social, business, or personal relationships with sports gamblers. So if your best friend gambles on sports, you can't be friends with him. You can't have any relationship. I know you probably shouldn't. You're right, but
I mean, the moral of the story here is simple: keep your freaking mouth shut.
Yeah, be smart about it.
Have somebody else make a bet and be cool about the damn money. That's it.
Just be cool, man.
That's literally the only way you'll get caught. Is if you're loud about it, you're stupid about it, and you make bad decisions or with bad people. That's it.
The NBA,
the smartest way is just don't do it.
The NBA, yeah, you're right. The NBA, which has a constitution, doesn't expressly forbid players from betting on other sports. It's okay. You can't bet on the NBA, but that's basically all it covers. Major League Baseball's policy says baseball personnel may place legal bets on sports other than baseball or softball. You can't bet on softball if you're a baseball player, by the way. In jurisdictions where the sports betting is legal, provided that the person placing the bet is eligible under applicable law to place a wager. The NHL only prohibits players from gambling on league games, which means you can bet on minor league hockey if you're a hockey player.
Right.
It's just weird. It varies from league to league, and there's just the way it is. And I mean, I don't know. It's anyway. In the most recent,
all that needs to happen is that people just need to stop gambling. Stop betting. It's not that hard.
If you're a player in one of these sports, just stop it. But I don't think it's ever going to happen.
No, they're going to end up having to make ways. But also, I mean, I also see the logic of saying, like, if I'm Patrick Mahomes, why can't I bet on the Chiefs to win?
Yeah, that's the other thing. That's the other thing I never understood. If you're betting on your team to win, that's one thing as opposed to lose, because you can't make the team win any more than you're already trying to make the team win.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So like that's something that I remember seeing.
I will tell you this. I will tell you why that rule is, but I know what you're saying, but here's the reason they do that is because Patrick Mahomes may also have information about the team he's about to play.
Right.
And knows that they're not full speed.
Oh, I suppose that's possibly true. Yeah.
He has inside information from his friend over in Philly or wherever.
Probably.
I mean, he may or may not, but he might. And rather than make it look like, oh, well, he placed a $20,000 bet on his team to win and they won, well, good on him. It also doesn't account for the fact that he probably knew that so-and-so was going to be injured and wasn't going to play. And you know what I mean? That all that stuff could have been. And you don't read into that immediately, but it's something they need to consider, the optics of the whole dang thing. And I get it. But I don't know, man. It's weird.
The whole thing is flimsy.
It is.
And I don't blame the teams and the leagues for partnering with them. It seems hypocritical to say, no, you can't do this, but we're going to take their money also. But I mean, at this point, if the states allow them, the federal government has allowed them.
Yeah.
It's probably in your best interest to partner with them to have some sort of control over it.
Right. Yeah.
So probably.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, whatever. I don't know. This whole thing is just interesting. The whole Sports gambling is just one of those things where I go, just if you're in the professional sport, just don't do it. I mean, it's that easy. But you know, Genius Sports
Yeah.
is the company that the NFL extended their betting data slash integrity firm is what they called them, I guess. Um, they're offering low latency game feed that powers the NFL's watch and bet platform, which if the NFL is going to promote you betting, oh, but of course bet responsibly. But I mean, if you're going to promote betting, you're asking for questions about the integrity of the sport.
Right. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, that's
There
all.
will always be questions about,
Right.
wait, hold on, was this legitimate? Was this not
And
legitimate?
and
If you allow that.
The NBA's had that, right? It referees issues, right? And the NFL clearly has problem now, even though you've told them you can't bet on football. Guys are still betting on football. Um, they're not. That's not a brilliant move. And this is going to lead us what we talked about last night or the night before, which was, how smart are these players? What sport has the smartest players, or what sport, you know, most intelligent guys? I don't know. We might have to get in that discussion at some point, but
That's
I don't
gonna
know
be
how
tough.
as soon as we can figure out how to quantify the results. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know. I
I,
think this. I was looking at what you said about college. In that some places it's legal and some places it's not to bet on things. In Washington State, what I found out was you can't bet on a Washington team,
mm,
but you can still bet on the Pac-12.
yeah, that's the state of Washington rule, but the NCAA has a rule on top of the state of Washington's rule that says something different.
I don't know. I can go right on DraftKings right now and I can show you where I can go bet on Oregon to win the
No,
Pac-12.
well, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm
Oh,
saying you can do that.
yeah, I can do
You
it.
are more than
Yeah,
welcome to do that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But in Oregon you can't. And
Right,
athletes, it doesn't matter. You can't.
right.
So the athletes can't bet on anything,
Right.
even if,
Correct.
which is what we're talking about here.
Which
Is
is
that the athletes can't.
smart.
Whether or not you can or not, it's a different story. Different states allow different things.
Right. Which is smart, I guess, because you don't want. I mean, in college, yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be that way in the NFL. It should be both college and the NFL. But I mean, I think it's smart to just say, hey, you can't bet on sports, period, when you're a college athlete. It shouldn't be that way in the NFL or the NBA or any of those other leagues either. But whatever.
Right.
They're grown men. They figure they can handle themselves. But we've seen repeatedly most of them can't control everything. I don't know. It's interesting. We'll talk about it more, I guess, and we're gonna see how many more things pop up. But I mean, I think this was a heavy-handed. Let's punish everyone we can that's involved right now, and maybe send a message, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
And in
And
one
let's put it out there now that this is no longer going to be
right,
accepted, allowed, or tolerated. Like,
and
you,
you would have thought that the Calvin Ridley suspension from last year would have been enough, but
well, the one thing we don't know about this is how far back this goes. This could be gambling findings from 2 years ago
it could be.
that have finally been verified, and now suspensions are being handed down. So
That's true.
you're not really 100% sure if it's
From
from this last season.
right.
But I'm gonna guess probably was.
Probably. All right. So let's get back to the trivia question, Save and Stone trivia question,
Right.
because that's what we started the show with, which is what Formula One driver holds the record for consecutive race wins, and how many did he win that in a row? I guess is the question. So the answer is Sebastian Vettel. In 2013, Sebastian Vettel won 9 in a row. In fact, he won all 9 races after the summer break, and he won 13 of the 19 races held that season. So when we talk about Max Verstappen and his dominance, we've seen this kind of dominance before in Formula One. They've seen it. It's happened a number of times. Lewis Hamilton had a season similar. He didn't win as many in a row, but he won as many races in a season. He just, would win 4 and lose 1, win 5 and lose 1. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's the dominance is there and has been there. But 9 in a row is the record, and that's a lot. And Max is headed that way.
So Lewis Hamilton is tied for 7 with 5, but
Yeah.
he's got 2 of those.
2 5s,
Two
yeah.
fives.
Yeah.
And he's also tied for 14 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's done a bunch of those, yeah. And then
he
of
was
course
more dominant.
all over this is Schumacher and
Schumacher,
Prost and those
yeah.
guys. They're all over this thing.
Yeah, Hamilton was as dominant a race driver as you're going to find.
Yeah.
And he just didn't string together all of those wins. It was just 4 or 5 in a row, repeatedly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's Max Verstappen has really only been dominant for 2 years.
2 years.
And in those 2 years, he's got the 7th. He's tied for 7th also with 5, and he's currently on a streak of 6.
Right.
So yeah, he's dominant. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. He's got plenty of races to break the record. But stuff happens, you know. I mean, things happen. All it takes is a bump by somebody, a missed turn, a tire blows and it flies off and it hits your front wing, and you're damaged. You know, you're gonna have to pit, and it's gonna cost you whatever. But there's how many races left? 12.
Yeah. Something like that.
There's a lot of races left.
That reminds me. Did you see the video of the NASCAR tire that flew off the car and then hit a car in the parking lot? But more specifically, did you see the video of the staffers trying to they were trying to hide it? So the staffers were all covered around all these people in bright neon shirts and things like that, and they had police around them. They were holding up jackets to cover up the car. And it was so suspicious. For obvious reasons, right? You don't want. I mean, baseball had to extend their foul ball net because the threat of life and limb was there. Imagine a tire flying off a car going, 150, 160 miles an hour,
right,
wheeling right at you. And maybe we should consider extending our nets, because this one just yeeted into the parking lot and ruined someone's Toyota or a Chevy Cruze. So,
yeah.
But yeah, very, very interesting video out there, because there are people trying to walk up and take pictures of it, and the cops are like, get back, and it's like, what is going on here? Why are you guys so serious right now?
Right.
And then all these people are holding up their jackets, like when players get athletes, they hold up towels to block out the cameras.
Right.
Just like that.
That's interesting. Yeah,
very strange.
Yeah, it is weird behavior. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the second half of this F1 season. I hope that it gets more interesting. I don't mind. Obviously, Max is going to win this season, and we're resigned to that. What I'd like to see is someone else win a couple races. Doesn't matter what they are, but just more competitive.
It'd just be more fun to watch.
Yeah. And hopefully, maybe that's McLaren. Maybe Lando Norris is their team has got the thing. Maybe it's Lewis Hamilton. I don't know, but somebody's got to get up there and compete. And maybe, I'm not saying this is right. There's a little gray area here, but maybe you just nudge Max's car a little bit.
No one should nudge 81.
Rubbin's racing. That's what I heard.
Well, that's NASCAR, though.
I mean, they do it in Formula One too. Only everything gets damaged when you rub. NASCAR keeps on going.
When you rub, you're liable to get sent out of the track.
I always find that interesting. These NASCAR guys bump into each other and rub into each other on the track, and you can see the tire marks on the side of the car, right? And they still are racing and finishing. An F1 car gets literally touched by another tire, and there's a piece of wing flying off and
breathed on.
Things are going every which direction.
It almost would be more interesting to watch if you took the threat of damage out of the whole thing and just made it, fastest lap times.
It'd be fun.
What's that?
Put these guys in 20 NASCARs. NASCAR, to make them race a NASCAR race.
I think it should just be more like IndyCar. There should just be less restrictions.
IndyCars.
I want to see you build the best car. I don't care if it's
no rules.
I'm not gonna say no rules. I'm going to say I don't care if you opt for a V12 versus a turbocharged 6. Doesn't matter to me. I wouldn't mind hearing different sounding cars flying around the track.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting.
It would be interesting. There wouldn't be one uniform sound as every car passed by.
NASCAR used to have, and they don't do it anymore, but they used to have the IROC series, which was the International Race of Champions, right? And they had all those Camaros that were equally tuned. They were all the same car.
Yeah.
And you had 12 guys racing those cars around the track. I'd like to see Formula One do a race like that. All these Formula One cars are going to be exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Yep. And we want you to have a 10-lap race or a 12-lap race. There's no pit stops. It's literally just go. Let's see who the fastest driver is. That'd be kind of fun. They won't do it.
Kind of fun. It would be interesting. No. They don't. They don't ever want to shine true light on drivers, good,
Right.
bad, things like that.
Or on Thursday or Friday of the race weekend, make them all get in a go-kart on a go-kart track. That'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, that's actually not bad.
I'd watch that.
Go-kart qualifying?
I'd watch that. That'd be fun to watch.
That would be really fun.
Yeah, right? That'd be fun to watch. I would pay to watch that just every Thursday, right, on race weekend. 1 hour's worth of go-kart racing by these guys. Just to see how good they are.
That would be really fun.
It would be fun. Anyway, they're missing an opportunity.
I'd buy that for $1.
Right? Pay-per-view. If you guys are listening, it's freebie for you guys if you're listening. Anyway, I think that's it for the show.
I think we did it.
I think we did it. We did it. I don't know what music I want to play. That's the problem.
Whichever one.
I almost feel like the same music. That one piece of music goes on forever, by the way. Is it too much to go out with?
No.
Too upbeat?
No. Well, there's nothing wrong with upbeat on the way out. Send people off into the day in a good mood.
And it's the same music. I don't have to really have a bunch of recordings. It's not as bluesy as I like some of the other stuff. But anyway, we're on YouTube every week, just about, pending issues. This is not our number one job. This is not our day job. So just remember, this is a side thing. But we're on YouTube almost every week. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. And again, the email, you can email us lammsports@gmail.com and go to the website, which is just lammsports.com. We want to thank all of our sponsors, which is The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, Save and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River, and all of the sports networks and or sports entities. I've stopped doing it because we're not doing it for profit, so I really don't have to give credit to anybody, right?
You don't have to if you don't want to.
That's the way I feel about it right now. Until we decide to do it for a profit. Anyway, anything to say before we go out? What do we want to talk about next week?
Oh, man. Next week, we're going to have the end of Summer League to talk about. Next week, we're going to have nothing else.
We don't have Formula One.
Beginning of fall camp for football.
Yeah.
That starts this week or early next week, something like that. So the time we go on the air next week, that'll be started, which means Hard Knocks won't be far behind.
New York Jets, Hard Knocks?
New York Jets, Hard Knocks. I'm excited about it.
I think it's going to be a big distraction. I don't know.
I don't care. The Broncos play them at some point, so I'm okay if they're distracted.
Oh, we also need to watch, what's the show we're going to watch? Huh? Quarterbacks. Yeah.
I started watching it today. I watched the first 20 minutes on my break, and it was nice.
We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, we'll watch it and we'll review it. Yeah,
we'll review the show Quarterbacks. We'll see what else we can find. We may give you a Major League Baseball update as we start the second half of the season. Since we don't have a whole lot to talk about, WNBA is out there too. The New York Liberty and Sabrina Ionescu, they're 14-4. Have turned it around. They are one of those super teams, although they can't seem to beat Las Vegas, which I think has cheated to get where they are. But that's beside the point.
Probably.
Yeah, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So. Right. Anyway, I guess look at that. That's how long it lasts. 60 seconds, apparently, is the. I guess.
You know what? Run it back.
when we're back. I got the little stinger too.
The little stinger.
Yeah, did you hear it? Hold on. And we're back. See?
Hey, I like that. Yeah. Nice.
That's the back from commercial. So anyway. I just thought I'd throw it out there. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. We'll talk to you next week. We'll have something exciting. We'll post it on Facebook. And I'll let everybody know what we're doing. But this has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media